At the Faculty of Sciences of the University of Lisbon, a groundbreaking project funded by the Portuguese Foundation for Science and Technology called AQUA aimed at researching early modern hydraulic systems of gardens and monastic enclosures. The rationale behind this project is that more sustainable practices could be found in quintas, granjas, villas, courtyards, monastic enclosures, as they were self-sustainable in terms of hydric and energetic needs. Why is this interesting? Because nowadays we are facing so many challenges regarding the unsustainability of the planet that we thought that history could contribute to cope with these challenges of water scarcity and correspondingly water-wise management. In a time when there was no electricity and none of the technological capital we are used to in current times, the success they had with such low capacities fascinates and boosts novel solutions. There was an expertise of effort, efficiency, and therefore sustainability that we should pay attention now that there is such an urgency. What lessons can we learn from Portuguese quintas? This question directed the AQUA project. In order to zoom in into villas and monastic enclosures, we selected 4 case studies in the Portuguese territory that covered both civil and religious contexts and highlighted different scales.
So the Convent of Christ is one of the most important cases in Portugal to study this kind of topics, because it is a mythical place since the Templars, since it belonged to the Templars, but then it became even more important for our history as it was very connected with the history of the maritime expansion.
Regarding the water wheels in Tomar, we have a great example. It's the water wheel used at the Navantina factory. They use it as the main provider of energy for the factory, even though they had an electric motor there. So this showcased the potential of the water wheel to be used in several different productive processes.
So the Order of Christ is very close to the crown, to the royal family, and because of that, everything that was technologically very advanced and used during the maritime expansion was transferred to the Convent of Christ. And that's why, even in the hydraulic system, we are able to see that pumps were being used at a very early stage to elevate water from cisterns. And this does not happen in any other place in Europe in the first decades of the 16th century, as far as we know. So everything was designed and maintained so that things could be sustainable and efficient for centuries. And that's why the aqueduct, for example, was also thought in terms of maintenance, and also all the water was reused. So they built a four floors building just to reuse grey waters. So nowadays everybody talks about grey water. Well, they were already being filtered and treated in the 16th century in the Convent of Christ. The Convent of Arrábida is another of AQUA's case study. We have chosen it for totally different reasons, because it is of a very small community of eremites that have chosen that place because it is totally isolated from the world, and they want to be connected with nature and like that connected with God. So that green area was even called desertum because it was so far from the world. They would capture all the water from the mines. This is a totally closed system, and from the mines they were using the water in very different functions in the convent, and then also in the vegetable gardens and in the gardens, and even to wash clothes, to every function, activities, everyday activities that they had to perform there.
Quinta da Princesa is located in Seixal, on the left bank of the river Tagus, and is considered a perfect interpretation between history, science, technology and nature, where the element of water is the protagonist. The paradigmatic example of how a farm or a quinta in this region used its water resources in the early modern period led to be considered as a case study for the AQUA project. It has knowledge and wells, aqueducts, irrigation tanks, and a tidal lake, a particular structure for taking advantage of tidal energy, but very present in that region. So, starting from the case study of Quinta da Princesa, AQUA extended the Tagus estuary and showed how the tide mills revealed the existence of a local expertise of a select group of artisans who knew how to take advantage of the environment that surrounded them. They used tidal power to generate energy to grind flour. So the maritime expansion led to a growing demand for flour, which was used to make the biscuit, essential as food for the long journeys at sea. So my master thesis was on this topic, where I had the opportunity to make a short documentary and a story map.
So the Royal Palace of Queluz is another of AQUA's study, but now in a different context. So now we have chosen some of the religious context, but also of civil context. It is of the big scale. It's one of the palaces that stems from the role model that was Versailles for all royal houses in Europe. So it is in the French formal style, but built in the second half of the 18th century. It was in fact started in 1748. Queluz is one of the gardens in Portugal that has more documents and more sources, more primary sources to study. So in fact we have already some books about Queluz that we don't have for any other garden. However, AQUA did something totally different that had never been done. So, to calculate the water consumption of an historic garden, and that garden was Queluz. And the methodology to be able to evaluate the consumption of water in Queluz is in fact something that came up by the teamwork between the historians of science and technology and hydraulic engineers. Okay, so we provided the sources, and even archaeological works were important for this, because we had to estimate all the measures of the pipes, all the measures of the reservoirs. So we had to know what was the water coming into the system, and then to provide, because we don't have quantitative values for this, we only have qualitative. And then it was also with archaeological works and the measures of the reservoirs and the water devices that are there, that we were able to calculate or to give this to the hydraulic engineers, and then they were able to in fact estimate different scenarios. So the big question after that was, okay, after having the values for Queluz, but okay, is this more sustainable than contemporary gardens? And so we compared the values that we had for an historic garden with two contemporary gardens, one in the Algarve and another one in the surroundings of Lisbon. The one in the Algarve even used smart system, and the result was, without any doubt, even taking into consideration the three possible scenarios for Queluz. So one spending more water, one the minimum, and Queluz was always the winner. So contemporary gardens spend more water than historic gardens. And why? It has all to do with the design. So in fact, while in Queluz, in our historic gardens, we only have plants that were adapted to the climate, we have trees and shrubs, but we don't have lawns, okay? And that is the thing, is that we abuse of lawns in contemporary garden design, and in a country as Portugal, where hydric resources are sparse and rain with climate change is each year worse, we have less rain. So I think one of the outcomes of this project is this call of attention for contemporary garden design and the use of lawns.
Due to our multidisciplinary and multinationality team, we understood that we could extend our case studies and that it would make all the sense to further explore the connections with the Spanish gardens to elevate the efficiency of Iberian hydraulic systems in adverse environments.
Desde el inicio del proyecto vi que era una buena oportunidad para no hacer estudios de manera separada por países, que al fin y al cabo es una división geográfica política, sino en el caso de la península ibérica en común, tanto Portugal como España, con un pasado en común a nivel histórico y por supuesto una unidad geográfica.
The prevailing idea that early modern water history in Portugal had no theoretical ground and was exclusively developed empirically has now to be nuanced by AQUA's research. Despite the importance of practices, one cannot deny the circulation of treatises on hydraulics, water management and water devices that were present in early modern libraries and could be read by architects, engineers and masters. All copies of these treatises extant in libraries with ancient funds can be consulted in AQUA's site.
And when I arrived here for the first time, thanks to the scholarship Universities for Europe project, I was doing research mainly on the treatises that circulated in Portugal during the early modern period and not only. And actually I spent a lot of time at the National Library of Portugal, in particular to do research with the primary sources. And what has been found mainly is that in Portugal during this period there was not only a practical knowledge that was available for the engineers to improve their work, but that there was also a kind of theoretical background that is connected mainly with the French scenario, the French hydraulic scenario.
The variety of water devices in early modern Portugal, spanning from Noras, water wheels, and multiple varieties in between, highlight how the same mechanical principle was invented and reinvented, making of this a creative use of technology.
I think the AQUA project really gave a great contribution in letting the rest of Europe understanding the highest level of technology developed in Portugal and the Iberian Peninsula, especially in general during the early modern period.
En este sentido, la parte que más trabajé con Ana, que ha sido el de las noras norias, de hecho la palabra era casi igual en portugués, que es casi igual que en español, y nos ha permitido ver pues esos puntos comunes, y creo que es un estudio muchísimo más amplio y más completo que como se venía trabajando, ¿no?, de manera fragmentada.
So the Nora was one of the most important features of an hydraulic landscape in Portugal. They were here since the times of Al-Andalus, and we can still observe them in the Algarve. They were so important that we even used them as an inspiration for AQUA's logo. Now, this is a paradigmatic case, where the conceptual framework put forward by David Edgerton on technology of use makes a lot of sense, makes all the sense. Why? Because the noras were much more important during medieval and early modern periods than when it was invented in antiquity, because the technology to build and maintain them was much more developed, and they were just like the proper device to elevate water in small estates, as was typical in the Iberian Peninsula since the Al-Andalus.
Then we have developed two master theses on this experimental facility. The first one was the study of two models of water wheels, one with 8 blades and another one with 16 blades. The thesis that is now being finished and developed and studied here is to find the optimal number of plain blades that we can have in this water wheel. So at the end of this thesis, we will be able to design the optimized water wheel to implement in the wastewater and water utilities. So what is this water wheel? This water wheel is inspired in the ancient water wheels used in the gardens in the past 500 years ago. And why is this important? Because we want to study a low-cost technology to use nowadays in water treatment plants and wastewater treatment plants.
This is my master thesis, that is the works being developed in an undershot water wheel that will be futurely implemented in a prototype in wastewater treatment plants. This has the goal of the importance of the sustainability of energy. So these works that I've developed is going to guide a real application in the wastewater treatment plants. It's going to be installed in the inflow and outflow of the treatment plant, and it's going to generate energy to make it self-sufficient. This experiment simulates a channel like an wastewater treatment plant, the outflow or the inflow, that we have enough energy to extract from the water and we produce mechanical power with this wheel.
Nowadays, the group Águas de Portugal is very much interested in reducing the energy consumption. And it has a strategy until 2030 to become neutral energetically. One of the contributions that can be given is through the use of hydropower from existing facilities.
The AQUA project is driven by the history of science and technology, but crossed boundaries to develop interdisciplinary methodologies with hydraulic engineering and landscape architecture. Beyond multidisciplinary fields gathered under the same umbrella, the success of this project lays on the capacity to build knowledge that could never be reached otherwise. AQUA's multidisciplinary team enrolled a group of young researchers who had the opportunity to develop a bench of skills and produce outputs that allowed them to move forward to new grants and contracts, as important as a Fulbright grant in the USA to study at Johns Hopkins University, a FCT Junior Research Contract, and CIU HCT's PhD grants.
With the expertise obtained by my time during the AQUA project, I was selected for a grant. In the United States, I got a Fulbright scholarship for research, and I went to the Department of History and Technology at Johns Hopkins University to research water landscapes and the hydraulic technology, especially regarding the water wheels.
The AQUA project, in addition to providing me with professional and academic growth, presented me with a family in another country. I had the opportunity to develop new skills such as film production, book writing, and organizing conferences. And after this experience, I was able to win a PhD scholarship at CIUT.
I spent my first period here thanks to an Erasmus scholarship, and then after this first period, I've decided to apply for a PhD here. And thanks to another grant, another scholarship provided by the CIUT, the research unit here, I started another period here doing my PhD.
So to sum up, how can I sum up everything that we did in AQUA? We did so many things. It was so important. It was a great success for all of us. It changed our lives. In scientific terms, so we published even more than we thought. So we published books like this, also the making of the project. We published articles in the best journals for these issues. We did so much for communication of science. We are also concerned with that, so conference, seminars, films, website.
So currently our society is facing different challenges. This is why, because of the climatic changes with the most frequent floods and droughts, and also the challenges related to the electricity and the energy consumption. So why is this project important for the society? Because we are inspired in the knowledge, in the history, and we are recovering technologies that were used in the past by our ancestors to use currently to reduce the energy consumption.
So AQUA was also an opportunity to develop mutual collaborations, namely with David Gentilcore, who is the PI of an ERC on water cultures in Italy.
One of the things that really interested me in putting my own project together, because I'm an Italian historian, the focus was naturally on Italy, but at the time of writing it up, I was thinking that water would be particularly important to Mediterranean societies where water is a real issue. But the one thing I quickly discovered is that water is of existential importance to all societies everywhere, even where the rainfall is plentiful and distributed throughout the year. Water is crucial to all societies. So I think both of our projects, both AQUA in Portugal, water cultures in Italy, lend themselves to a pan-European, also including the Mediterranean there, a pan-European approach, especially since so many of the issues that we're interested in are similar. And what I imagine is similar issues would tell us about different approaches to these issues, different societal responses, different governmental structures, which will be particular to different societies. And yet there's always a common denominator which would make for some very interesting comparisons at a European and Mediterranean level.
And the most important of all, I think, is the novel knowledge that we built. So we demonstrated that, in fact, early modern gardens were more sustainable than contemporary gardens. And due to this interdisciplinary methodology that we developed between history and hydraulic engineers, we were also able to demonstrate that history can contribute to more sustainable solutions for the future.
AQUA project has succeeded. This historically driven project embraced a multi- and interdisciplinary program, and in this way, we were able to contribute by challenging past ideas on early modern water management in Portugal and convey solutions, inspiration and knowledge for a parsimonious, effective and sustainable use of a vital asset for the life of all living beings on the planet, water.